going on, everybody? Welcome to the Face Mask Podcast. Nick Payne, John Alsace. John, what's happening?
What's going on, bro? Before we get started, I just want to let everybody out there know that we are a YouTube channel that puts out content every day. So if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. But without further ado, let's get it in.
It's been a minute since we've done one of these together. We've done no quarterbacks yet, have we?
Nah, bro, we really haven't. So, why don't you start it off? Who is the number one guy at quarterback in this rookie draft that you're most excited for?
Trey Lance.
Okay.
Came out, was a dark horse as far as the number 3 overall pick. There were rumors all leading up to the draft. Once San Francisco had made the trade, they were looking at Mac Jones. They could take Justin Fields. Trey Lance, that was kind of like a late developer as closer and closer to the draft, that it was possible that Lance was the pick. And as it turns out, that is the guy that the 49ers mortgaged a ton of their future for. Already having an incumbent in Jimmy Garoppolo who doesn't stir up a world of confidence, but they've moved on. This regime has moved on from Jimmy. That much was made clear when they made the move up to get Trey Lance, who didn't play last year in college. He played one game and then sat out. So he hasn't played for a little bit. But the 49ers clearly they weren't worried about that.
They saw at North Dakota State that he was pretty good at boot action, pretty good at timing throws.
That booty action?
Pretty good at dump offs. Yes, that booty action. He's all about that booty action. And he's all about dump offs to fullbacks and tight ends, and that's all things that Shanahan likes in a quarterback. He had a 28-0 TD to interception ratio. That's pretty impressive.
Solid.
I would say that is perfect.
Yeah, one would say that is a very good score to turnover ratio.
To go along with that, he had a 9.7 yards per pass attempt average.
That's fun. That would put him in the top half of the league.
The only knock I saw was that he only completed 38% of his passes that were more than 20 yards down the field. So deep passes are not something that he is very accurate on.
Work in progress.
And he only averaged 18 pass attempts per game in college.
Was that because he was on one of the better Division I AA teams in the country year in, year out, and he wasn't asked to do as much as he will have to do in your average NFL game? I imagine that's probably the case.
Well, it also has to do with the fact that he ran for 1,110 yards.
Ooh.
And 14 touchdowns on the ground in 2019.
Ooh.
So,
those are some fun numbers.
Yeah, so he didn't actually have to rely on his passing all that much. But when he did have to rely on his passing, he was hyper efficient at getting it to the guys that he needed to get the touchdowns.
He made the right read seemingly every time.
Right.
Yeah. This offense is going to look a lot like probably, it's going to look like what an elite rushing offense looks like. They're going to deploy multiple backs in the backfield. They're going to give you different formations. This is a team that you already mentioned that Trey Lance would check down to fullbacks. I don't think it's fair to say no team utilizes the fullback better than San Francisco. And on top of that, they have George Kittle, who is not only one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league, but he is far and away the best blocking tight end in the league. So San Francisco has a really solid advantage as far as their personnel goes and being able to kind of mask what they want to do on offense. This is going to be a very smoke and mirrors offense when Trey Lance takes over. There's going to be a lot of... Are they going to hand it off to the back? It's going to be a dual option RPOs. It's going to be a lot of quick reads made at the line of scrimmage. And the thing that's going to be most difficult to defend is not just the fact that San Francisco can hide their formations and what they want to do better than most teams, but Trey Lance is probably going to be most effective this year running the ball.
To speak to everything that you just said, a Sports Illustrated article just came out in which Connor Orr said the 49ers offense will be, and I quote, drastically different when QB Trey Lance is in the game. Maybe the backs will be stacked a different way. Maybe it'll utilize a different personnel grouping. This is going to be incredibly difficult for a defense to defend. End quote.
Sorry, defenses.
And then he went on to compare Trey Lance to RG3.
Okay, rookie RG3, of course.
Right.
Right, who was very effective running the football.
Let's remember that Shanahan was the OC back then.
Yes, he was.
And this is in 2012.
Yeah, this offense is going to look very similar to that. So maybe some pistol formations, especially with Kyle Juszczyk in the backfield.
Well, that Washington team had the third most attempts, the second most rushing TDs, and the first most rushing yards in the league with RG3. And he ended up being the QB5 that year.
So what you're saying is Trey Lance is the best value in the draft right now.
And just to pair that nugget with another little nugget, that year, Alfred Morris, 6th round rookie, finished second in the league in rushing.
Is this a Trey Sermon vote of confidence?
This is an Elijah Mitchell.
Okay.
The deep cut. You know. I know you love the deep cut, Mr. Jermichael Hasty.
I do. He's gonna have a role. I don't care what anybody says.
But no, I'm both of them. I'm saying both of these guys have the opportunity to be the number one back for a very, very run-oriented offense.
Right.
And a very, very efficient offense.
Yeah, this team will use 5 running backs.
By all accounts, by what Trey Lance brings to the table and has shown what he can do historically, he's 6'4", 226 pounds.
That's prototypical.
Adam Schefter came out and said that the 49ers believed Trey Lance was the smartest quarterback in the draft and the most ready to play right away. And they said that before the draft.
I remember the report.
To Adam Schefter.
I remember the report that the 49ers felt like Trey Lance was further along than maybe other teams had projected.
Right.
Now, here's the question, though. This all sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster. The question is, when does Trey Lance go in? Because by all accounts, I mean...
Week 1.
You think week 1? I kind of think so, too. I think a lot of people are... I see a lot of reports out there that there's a lot of speculation that Jimmy Garoppolo will start the season. I don't think the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks to wait that long. And when I say wait that long, I mean not at all, to get Trey Lance in there. If they truly feel like he's ready, what are you waiting for? The personnel on offense, it's built favorably to match his skill set. Like you said at the beginning of this, I don't really see why Jimmy Garoppolo would play another down for this team.
Well, I do want to speak to that just a little bit.
Okay.
Because if we are to believe that Trey Lance is going to come in and have RG3's season from 2012, which is what that whole article was based on. Continuing along with that thread, Pierre Garçon and Santana Moss were his number 1 and number 2 receivers.
Whew, there's some names. Yeah, okay.
Pierre Garçon was the fantasy wide receiver 53, and Santana Moss was the fantasy wide receiver 41.
Oh no. So you're telling me Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are undraftable at their current ADPs?
Man.
I would say Ayuk definitely is. As much as I like the player, it was pointed out on Twitter today. I'll cite the source as soon as I remember it, but Ayuk only had big games when Kittle, Deebo, or both were out of the lineup, and Ayuk's ADP is currently around the 5th round. So I would say he is.
Well, if we look at Trey Lance's strengths here, of what he showed in college, it wasn't the deep pass. It was the short pass, and let that playmaker do what he will with the ball. Who does that sound like in this offense? Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk?
That's Deebo. So to be fair, it could be both. Ayuk is absolutely a weapon around the line of scrimmage, but again, I think Deebo is ahead of him in the pecking chart when healthy. That's the caveat with Deebo. He has quite literally never made it through a full season healthy going back to college. So that is a red flag for Deebo, no doubt. But he is the yards after the catch monster of the NFL. Like, he is the standard as far as I'm concerned, the pole bearer. If he stays healthy, and when Trey Lance gets inserted, it could be kind of gross if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback for 1 or 2 games, which we're all hoping is not the case. Once Lance goes in, Deebo becomes an elite weapon, like wide receiver 2 or better for the rest of the season. I think Trey Lance is going to utilize him well. I think George Kittle remains a top 3 tight end. Again, to the same point, quick hitters at the line of scrimmage. They're going to design plays for Kittle anyway. I think this offense, the personnel top to bottom, is just better suited for Trey Lance's skill sets. His ADP is around 118 right now. It's a little bit of a risk just because Garoppolo is still on the roster, but damn it, like that's the best value at quarterback right now because he will play this year and he will run and it will be electric.
So you are willing to go get him in best ball. Are you willing to go get him in season long?
10 to 12 team leagues, probably not. I'll get another quarterback who is more entrenched as a QB1. Unless of course Garoppolo is traded in the preseason or before the season starts or before drafts start. Then I could draft Trey Lance like at the end, especially if it's a keeper league. Right now, today in redraft, I mean, there's plenty of other QB1s in 10 and 12 team leagues that I'd probably rather have, but I mean, this you're talking about through the roof upside, so it's hard to say. He will enter. I would say he enters the conversation, Trey Lance, of being drafted in shallow redraft leagues in as we inch closer to the beginning of the season.
And in Dynasty, are you willing to pay the price?
Superflex, he's a top 3 pick, and in a 1 quarterback dynasty, I mean, yeah, if I didn't have a clear young guy and I have a need for quarterback and he's there in the 2nd round and I'm able to get a pretty good player in the 1st round, yeah, I mean, by all accounts, he's got a minimum of 5 years being a starter in this league, or a minimum of 4 to 5. I'll say that's a minimum, given the premium that the 49ers paid up to get him.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Trey Lance is gonna explode onto the scene and be a QB1 straight out the gate? Do you think he's going to reach the ceiling that Sports Illustrated's Connor Orr originally compared him to in RG3 in 2012 specifically, and no other season?
Let's make that very clear.
Yes. Put your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for listening. This is the Face Mask Podcast. I am John Alsace. He is Nick Payne.
Yes, sir.
Have a great day.